I've gotten fairly decent at the facilitating of these meetings. I have to do that as zone president, so I've gotten okay, but to share a screen might take me just a minute. So and I've got one more thing to grab. I want to do a roll call too real quick just to make sure I've got everybody online. And so I'll kind of let you get comfortable for a second, grab a pen because you're going to need to take some notes, and we'll kind of whip through this for you this morning. And thank you again all for serving. Let me grab my PowerPoint. What? All right, loading that up, and then I'll share my screen in just a minute. So I just kind of want to start with kind of give you an idea of what has kind of changed this year and why we're doing some things the way that we are, and to kind of also go over some quick things for you. I realize that this is not the most ideal way to train people. We have had 6 classes already. Prior to doing those classes and scheduling, right before we started our first class, that's when the first restrictions came into place for us, limiting the number of people I could train in person. And now, thank goodness, we're doing a virtual class because now those restrictions are even stronger for us. So I would only be able to train about 10 people at a time, and we just are so busy, we just don't have time for that anymore. Give you an example of how things are going here in our office. We are staying on a line for about an hour and a half to 2 hours every day, all day. From the time we open, we actually opened out the door this morning at 8:30. We have had almost 4,400 people early vote in my office since September 24th. And we have mailed out almost 6,700 vote by mail ballots. 4,000, a little over 4,000 of those have already been processed and put into the vote by mail tabulator. So over 8,000, almost 9,000 ballots have been cast already. So to give you an idea, that has greatly increased. The highest we ever sent out for vote by mail was 850 back in 2016. So we have greatly increased the numbers of our vote by mail. And having in person, normally for a presidential election, we may have about 3,000 people vote total in that time frame in the 40 days, and we've already surpassed that already. I suspect that we're going to do probably closer to 5,500 people. So drastically increased this year. A lot of changes took place with the new election law that passed in June. So we did have to expand the vote by mail program, where we had to send an application or a request form out to anybody who has voted in one of the last 3 elections. A lot of people have been confused by that because also second parties were able to send something out. Other third parties could do that. So like, for example, a candidate, there was a lot that went out for friends or paid for by, and it was for the fair tax. So there was a lot of political action committees that also sent these out. So that caused a lot of confusion for people. But just so that you're aware, we can only give a ballot to someone who has requested it, whether it's in person requesting it, whether it's voting by mail requesting it, or requesting it at their polling location. That's what you sign when you go in to vote in your polling location. You're actually signing a request form for a ballot. My staff has been phenomenal. We've been working about 12-hour days pretty much since September 24th. Just making sure that everything's going smoothly. We've been working with our postal offices that have been fantastic. Starting this week, actually no ballots are going to Carroll Stream to be sorted. They're doing that all here locally and then handing them within a day to the people who are out delivering for us. So we have some good people that are really working with us in partnerships. Okay, so before we go any further, we'll kind of touch base on some of these other things. I am going to do a quick, just to make sure if we have on here, and to let you know too, I sent out yesterday, if I've missed you, let me know, but I sent out a form that I'm going to have you complete. It's our contact forms. We use these on election day when we're trying to reach you. So we do need just to make sure everything is updated for you, whether it's phone number or an email. Things are changing and can change drastically by the day around here. So it's very important for me to have either a cell phone or a phone or an email so I can reach you quicker. Most of my days right now have been spent out facilitating voters that are coming through since we have such a long line. So that's another reason why it's best for me to have your email so that I can do that at night, in the morning, first thing, whenever, or when we're taking quick breaks. So if you did not receive your form, just email me and let me know I didn't get the form. But I'll have you fill that out for me. There's one line on that form that you're not going to know, and I don't expect you to know, so don't fill it out. That's the precinct information form or line. Everything else is basically just going to be still the contact information, and then the bottom line is your party that you're representing. Okay. All right. So we're going to start off. I'm going to call the names and just have you unmute yourself and say hello. Natalie Mulhall.
Here.
I see Natalie. Bruce Beck.
Here, Julie.
Hi, Bruce. Megan Trybalski.
Hi. Here.
Hi. If I butcher your name, let me know.
That was right.
Okay, good. Chantal Stiles.
Here.
Good morning. Grace McCutcheon. I heard a little noise, but I'm not sure if that was Grace. Okay, how about Natalie Horrigan?
Here.
Okay, how about Ruth Chance?
Here.
Thank you. Joyce Crook and Mike Crook?
Here.
Good morning. Good morning. And Marilyn McClintock.
Good morning.
Good morning. Charles Schnuckel.
Marilyn is here, by the way.
Good. Thank you, Marilyn. Charles Schnuckel. Okay. Pat Mazanik.
I'm here.
Very good. Thank you, Pat. How about Cody Toft Roush?
I'm here.
And Gloria Otang Bidayako?
Here.
Did I butcher that?
Oh, no, it's fine.
Okay. Kathleen Callahan. Okay. And Carolina Parada, and I see I need to send you the form, so I'll make sure I do that for you. And again,
Great, thank you.
yes, thank you. So also, folks, if you are familiar with the chat button, you can always send me questions or send me information through the chat as well on here. I'll try and keep up with that as we go, especially when you have questions as we're going. Stephanie Myers.
Here.
James Hardy. James Hardy. Okay, Carmel Taglia.
Yep.
Okay. And Patricia Harvey.
Good morning.
Hi, Patricia. Juan Diaz.
I'm here. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Jonathan, I know I saw you somewhere up there. Rachel Van Laar.
I'm here.
Great. Tallery Wendell.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Thomas Tripetti.
Here.
Stefan
Can you hear
Rainbow.
me?
I can hear you. Thank you.
Here.
Stefan. Okay. Christy Lang. Lisa Mittel.
Present.
Great. Jessica Ochoa.
Here.
Julie Clark. Alyssa Wolf.
Here.
Mackenzie Key,
Here.
Deja Smith.
Hi, Julie.
Hi. Tanya Hemke.
Good morning.
Hi, Tanya. Brian Hemke.
Hello.
Good morning. Julie Newhouse.
Here.
Good morning, Julie. Diane Anderson. I know I saw Diane, I think.
Good morning, Julie.
Good morning. Rich Alms.
Hello.
Hi, Rich. Aston Martin.
Here.
Alexandra Gonzalez. And I hope I don't butcher this. Mahabeen Ahmed.
Majbeen Ahmed. I'm here.
Thank you. And Damon Worth.
Here.
Okay, fantastic. I think we have. Did I miss anybody? Is there somebody on that I didn't have their name called?
You
Hey,
mentioned
Julie, Carrie Anderberg.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey.
Julie Hanson.
Oh, are both Hansons on?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
You missed Anna Sita.
All right, Anna.
You also miss
And-
Paola Hernandez.
Thank you. I know I sent you, Paula, the form yesterday, but I think the other ones I've missed. So I'll make sure to get that form to you all this morning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody
Liliana
else?
Casillas.
Then you missed. Oh, then you missed Reese Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Alex West.
I'm sorry, what was the last name?
West.
Thank you. Okay, anybody
And-
else?
Liliana Pasillas.
All right.
Danny Klaus.
Oh, Danny, yes, I knew you were going to be here. I don't know why I didn't call you. And I can see you in all your beautiful glory. Okay, anybody else?
Denise DeLeo.
Yep, Denise, I sent you the link this morning and I forgot to put you on the list.
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Anybody else? We have a full house. This is so exciting. That's awesome. Okay, so again, thank you all very much for wanting to participate. We'll go ahead and get started. I do have one more question to answer real quick. On that form, the precinct information, you don't have to put anything on there. I'm finalizing precinct assignments today, so I'll be emailing those out or giving you a call and letting you know who you're going to be working with so you can get in contact with them. Normally we try and have that done by now, but we've had so many people in the last week want to work and so many people who have called off. So it's been a huge, huge change for us. And that's again why I say it's great to have your email so that I can contact you as soon as I can, just because things are changing like crazy around here. Okay, so let me get our screen up here and started. Let me pull open my doohickey thingy. How's that for technical terms? The doohickey. All right. So this is the PowerPoint presentation that I actually would have done had you been doing the class in person. A lot of it for people who have already been an election judge in the past, it's very similar. We do have some minor changes. We were able to go ahead and buy new equipment this last December. So March was the first time that we were actually able to use that equipment, and it has been fantastic for us. All right, so here we go. Let me now get back to the other one so I can get you shared. Okay. Is anybody seeing it yet, or are you just seeing me still?
Just you.
Just me.
Just you.
Okay, give me just a second. I'm getting there. Okay, I think I gotta go about this backwards. Here we go. All right, we're gonna share screen and then you'll see it pop up. Share. Okay, so now you can kind of see it, but now I'm gonna start the slideshow and then that should work. Okay, do you see that now? You see Liberty Systems up there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yay, okay. All right, so we're gonna kind of power on through here. Are you only seeing the Liberty Systems?
Also the
Also you.
Okay.
Everyone else.
Okay, and you're seeing the chat also?
Mm,
No?
A picture of who's talking.
Okay,
I think it depends on your view, Julie.
okay. As long as you can see the Liberty Systems part, we're okay. Let's see if I can pull that. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get us started then. Okay, so obviously the election is next Tuesday. Oh, pooey. Let's see. Every computer is different. I did this at the thing the other day and it was good to go, but now we're not. Okay, so let's try that. All right, so there's the information about Boone County. The welcome, we kind of already did. Make sure to ask questions. So if you see something, you can either throw it in the chat or just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up and ask a question as we go through. We're going to kind of go through this a little bit quicker than we would if we were in person. Obviously, I'm not going to hear your phones necessarily, so don't worry about that. Election Day Emergency Response Guide. This is a form that's going to be in with all of your stuff, all of your paperwork, everything, okay? So this is just going to tell you about what to do if you encounter certain things. Along with this, we're also going to be including a guide from the Illinois State Board of Elections, and it's a de-escalation guide. And this basically is just to help you kind of, if you have somebody come in that's upset, voting can be very stressful for people. And what we're seeing is sometimes, especially if you have to ask them to remove something that they're wearing that is considered electioneering, some people can get kind of upset a little bit about that. Most of the times, no, but they usually calm down pretty quickly when you explain to them why. But this guide will kind of help you in certain circumstances as well. The one thing I want you to remember that you're the election authority there. So if anything happens, you're welcome to call 911 or call me and I will do the same, okay? So just to let you know that there will be guides in, you're gonna all have a binder for each precinct and this will have a ton of information for you. The other thing I want to kind of stress too before we get started is that we're gonna have a lot of information in there for you that we streamlined. So when you get this instructions here, when you get to the polling location, you're going to have literally streamlined instructions on how to set up, what to do during the day, and how to put everything back exactly where it goes. So at the end of the day, when you're breaking things down, these instructions will be so streamlined, they will literally tell you in the black box, you put this, in the brown box, you put this. So I just want to just stress that to you, not to be overwhelmed by all the information that you get today, because we do streamline those instructions and make sure that you take the time to read those when you first get there to help setting everything up. The next thing on the screen is our COVID-19 guidance for election polling places. So everybody will have a copy of this. If you would like to see it ahead of time, I'd be happy to email that to you. This is a plan that we did it in accordance with the IDPH guidelines. Now, first of all, I want to point out every polling location is different. So these are guidelines for you. If you may not be able to do everything according to this plan because of the polling location. For example, one of the things that's in here is going to be having foot direction in going in one direction. That may not be possible. Like, for example, at the conservation district, there's no way that you're going to be able to do just one direction to go in and out the doors. So just keep things in mind when you're going through this. It's not verbatim, it's just guidelines for you. We are going to have a large container that will hold all of the PPE and cleaning supplies for you. So when you read this plan, you'll see that PPE provided, there's face masks, There's latex gloves if you choose. There's hand sanitizer. There's some disinfectant wipes. And then there's also desk shields. So I have 2 desk shields that will kind of come across and down. So that will be protective of our people, just as if you were having plexiglass in front of you. You are welcome to wear your own masks if you choose to. Some people are comfortable wearing the shields. You're welcome to do that as well. So just whatever you prefer that you're comfortable with, you can do, but you do need to wear something. One thing that I want to stress too, when somebody comes in to vote, if they are not wearing a mask, you cannot turn them away. This is based on the IDPH guidelines. This is not, we cannot disenfranchise a voter from voting because they choose or can't wear a mask. So I want you to keep that in mind when people come in. If you see somebody not wearing one, we have enough masks for you to offer them one, but again, you can't make them, okay? So we've had, again, you know, almost 4,400 people vote in our office and only 7 people have not worn a mask. So most people, I think, are prepared to do that. That's even if you're in a location where they require it and it's a business. Polling locations are different. These are special, unique places that are only from 6 a.m. in the morning to 7 p.m. in the evening. After that, any other things, guidelines, or things, policies that those particular places have in place will go into effect after that. Okay, so does anybody have any questions real quick before I move on from there? Okey-doke. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, sanitizer is going to be available. What we do in my office to kind of help facilitate that is we have a hand sanitizer available right at the very beginning when they first walk in the door. We have them do that right away so that by the time that they're getting a ballot, their hands are already dry. You don't want to have it set right before you give them a ballot because then that sanitizer gets on the ballot and they're going to have issues getting it into the tabulator. So one thing that's really kind of cool, Anheuser-Busch donated all of the sanitizer for all of the polling locations in Illinois. So we have about 5 or 6 bottles for each location. So we're pretty much going through maybe half a bottle a day, and that's 300 voters. So I really think you're going to have plenty of sanitizer for that. The other thing you might want to do is have your sanitizer set up at the end also, so that they can do it when they're first coming into the building and then do it right afterwards. You will be cleaning in between as you can. That doesn't mean after every single voter, but as you can. So if you have a good spurt come through, there's maybe 10, 20 people come through, then you have a little bit of a break, then go ahead and clean after that point. But that sanitizer before and after will help people with that when you can't clean after every single person. Okay, so at the point now that we are for people registering to vote, this is just for your information on election day because people we're already past the online and the regular registration. The only thing they can do now if they're not registered is to come to my office. So they do have to show 2 forms of identification. They can do this all the way up through election day. Early voting, the deadline is tomorrow for them to request a ballot, and then we can get those sent out. Is anybody still having issues with not being able to see the screen?
Nope, looks good.
Good. Okay. So one
Actually,
question.
I am.
You see the screen.
I think it's my computer, so I'm on the phone.
Oh, sure.
But
Okay.
if I could just get a copy, of the screen thing in my
Yes,
email,
you
that'd be
betcha.
great.
Email me so I know,
Okay.
and just let me know that so that I can do that for you. One question was asked.
Thank you.
Well, oh, you betcha. One question that was asked was about pens being wiped down. So what we do in my office, and we're going to give you a hefty supply of pens. You may not have one for every single voter, but you should have a good 30 to 50 pens, depending on the size of your polling location. What we've been doing is having people come in, hand sanitizer, we get their information. When they're finished voting, then we have a box to put their privacy cover and a box to put their pen in. And then that way, at the end of the day, we're hand sanitize, or we're bleaching actually all of these pens so that they're sanitized for the next day. So for what I would suggest for you on election day is when you have gone through, several of your pens, just grab maybe 5 or 10 at a time, wipe them down with one of the wipes that will be in there, and then you can reuse those pens. Okay. So the early voting, again, that deadline is tomorrow by noon. And then we have tomorrow afternoon's mail to get the information out for people and to get their ballots out. And again, as I said earlier about the our polling or our post office, they are doing great about getting those sent out then directly the next day. Anybody who is voting by mail, they have through election day to postmark it. They can also drop it off in my office, and hopefully by tomorrow morning, we will actually have a drop box in there as well for any of the people who still want to just drop it off and not come inside. Okay, so what is your job as an election judge? It's to protect the rights of voters and to ensure that the election process is fair and in accordance with election law. So in the polling, part of the issue with getting everybody scheduled, I would love to have everybody be able to work on their own, but I simply can't, just simply because I have to have a certain number of Republican judges and a certain number of Democratic judges. And so I have to make sure we have that covered as well. I have several maybe from one party who live in one precinct, but I'm going to have to separate them and go into other places. As I said, I'll get those out this afternoon so you'll know if you'll need to, if you'll be able to vote in your polling location that day or if you'll need to come in and early vote. Okay, so we're going to go through a few time frames. So before the polls open, which is how much of us look like, I come in at 4 in the morning that day. I have staff that comes in at 5 to help answer questions or help you as you're setting up that morning. And I also have staff from my election company that come in as well. And so this is often how we feel, but hopefully with a little bit of coffee, you kind of jump in and this is what you look like. You're running, you're getting there, you're getting everything started. So your designated time to arrive is at 5 a.m. and polls open at 6. Any judges that have not arrived by 5:15, please give me a call. Maybe I've just heard from them and they're running late, or maybe something's happened and I'm trying to find somebody for you. Either way, let me know right away, okay? Or at least by 5:15. Okay. Anything missing? So you're going to be familiar with your supplies. We are going to have one judge pick up those supplies on Monday. And a lot of times you can take those supplies over to the polling location. If you're assigned to the community building, we're going to actually have you, she'll be available after 1 o'clock that day that you can go and drop off supplies and start getting some things set up. So we're going to go through when you do pick those up, we're going to give you a list of all the things that are in there for you. And we're also going to give you a list of how many ballots you have. And then when you first arrive or when you're setting things up, you can kind of go through and pull things out so you know what things are and make sure you're self-familiar with everything. You're going to have a blue supply bag that's going to hold several items in it. You're going to have a precinct envelope that will be in that blue bag. This is where a lot of your tally sheets, your written forms that you're going to have to complete will be in there. They're very self-explanatory on filling them out, but if you have any questions, there should be somebody that has worked before in your polling location, but if you still have questions, of course, call us. The green bag, you're also going to have that's going to have different covers, supplies, the election judge manual. The election judge manual is fantastic because anything that you don't remember, if you have any questions, you'll have that in there too. Various signs that you're going to be putting out will be in there. The red bag is the before and after voting. So you're going to have polling place signs, instruction signs that you'll be putting up, no electioneering signs, voter instructions, and then also the case seals. The case seals are what you're going to, when you bring the ballots back, you're going to be sealing up some things for us. So we're going to have those in there as well for you. The affidavit binder, it's this little blue binder and it's really cool. The biggest thing that you're going to use out of there, it's a salmon colored affidavit. That affidavit is used for a few different things. So you might have a voter come in who is needing help with translation of the ballot, and they maybe have brought somebody with them to help them vote. So on this affidavit, you're going to complete the affidavit. It's self-explanatory. If you read through it, it tells you exactly how to fill it out. And then you'll mark either maybe the person has a visual issue and is not able to see the ballot clearly, or perhaps maybe they need it translated. You'll mark one of those things. Both of the people who are going to be voting, either the person voting or the person who is helping the person to vote, both of them will sign it, and you're going to sign it. That's going to be the affidavit that you use most frequently. And again, everything is very self-explanatory, but again, call us if you need any kind of clarification for those. There's going to be other affidavits in there too, but those are hardly ever used, so I'm not even going to spend time to go over them. The same salmon colored one that has an assisted voter affidavit on the other side is also for name change or updating a signature or an address. You're also going to have a supply bag that is located inside the blue bag. It has pens. You're going to have a separate container of pens also. Tape, scissors, clips to hang signs, I voted stickers, and then your name badges to wear. Judge of election, that would be you. Okay, so you as an election judge, you serve as officers of the circuit court. You are the sole authority in that polling location. So if anybody questions anything, or if there's any decisions that need to be made, you as the election judge panel in that polling location are the authority. If you have questions and need a direction on how to proceed, you can give us a call. That's what we're here for, and we expect you to. You are also the sole authority in the campaign-free zone, which we'll go into a little bit more details later. That's 100 feet from the polling location door, and that's where no electioneering can take place. So if you see anything happening, you're the authority that can tell somebody, you must take off that hat, you must take off that button, you must take off that mask. If it says, we've seen both a Biden mask come in and a Trump mask come in. And we hand them another mask to put on over it, or we ask them to remove it and put the other one on. You don't want to tell somebody just to take one on and then not offer them something else to replace that mask with. You are the ones who are responsible for the proper conduct of that election in that polling location. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do when you arrive is you're going to start pulling out everything. If you haven't done that the day before, you're going to administer the oath. So each of you on this form that you can see on here, each of you will go through and review the oath together, and then all of you will sign it. So the second thing I want you to remember this. The first thing is I want you to remember to just read through the instructions and not get overwhelmed. The instructions will help you. The second thing is if you see a line, we're going to have you sign. So you'll see on this form, there's lines there. That's where you're going to sign as election judges after you've taken that oath. Poll watchers may arrive at 5 a.m. when you do. These folks, they do have every right to go in before the polls open. They can also be there until you have finished afterwards. So they can be there before, during, and after. Poll watchers they have to be a registered voter in Illinois. They have to have poll watcher credentials from either myself or from the State Board of Elections. They are appointed by either a political party, a candidate, any kind of civic organization, a proponent to, or either for or an opponent to a proposition. So I expect to see somebody from either camp for the fair tax that might be coming to the polling locations. I definitely, every election, give credentials to both the Democratic and Republican Party chairs in Boone County, and then they distribute that to their precinct committee people who are going to go in and be poll watchers. And I have had one political party ask me, or I'm sorry, not political party, a candidate has asked for one of their members to be a poll watcher as well. They do have to have a separate credential for each precinct. And it's basically a piece of paper that has my information on it, my signature. It will have their information and their signature and whoever is appointing them, whether it's the candidate or it's their organization or it's the chairman of their party that would be authorizing them to go. So what exactly do poll watchers do and what rights do they have? They can observe all proceedings, okay, and anything related to the conduct of the election. What they cannot do is touch anything, okay? So they can observe you while you're setting up. They can observe you while you're taking down. They can observe you during the day and making sure you're doing the correct process. They may come and go throughout the day, but they do need to notify you when they're leaving. You will keep their credentials. So when they come back, they do have to notify you that they are back, and we'll have an envelope. I'll show you that in a minute. And you're also going to make sure that there's one for every single person that's a poll watcher that comes in. They have to have this. If they are going to another precinct to visit, they have to have another set of credentials going there as well. They may call attention to incorrect procedure. Do not let this concern you because oftentimes they are not correct in what they're telling you as well. So just give us a call and just to confirm things. They can challenge qualifications of a voter, especially if that person is a local person. They may know if that person has moved or changed their name, and then they can question that. But again, they cannot touch anything. And finally, the secrecy of the ballot has to be maintained. We're going to make sure that they are not standing over the ballot box, that they're not looking to make sure, at what people have voted. It has to be that way. Now, there is a question about can poll watchers be armed? I actually need to check on that for polling locations because where a lot of places may not allow concealed carry, I need to double check. I actually have already asked this question. I'm waiting for an answer from the state board and from the state's attorney's office on whether that's allowed in a polling location. So I'll have to get back to you on that question. Okay, so this is the envelope that you're going to place their credentials into. And again, you can kind of see the lines where you're going to put their name, you're going to put the date and time, or the time that they've arrived and the time that they've left. Okay, so who else can be present at the polls on election day? The only other people who are authorized, except for the registered voters for that place and you, poll watchers, law enforcement officials, representatives of the State Board of Elections, State's Attorney's Office, Attorney General's Office, and my office. So anybody that is coming in should be able to show you a badge or show you credentials that that's who they are with. I usually have my name tag on and most of the judges will know who I am, but I may have to send somebody from my election company or one of my staff out to help with an issue. And but they will bring my business card with them so that you'll know. Okay. Okay, so let's move on. Just to show you pictures of the Unison tabulator and touchscreen. If you voted in March, you've seen this equipment. If you've early voted, you've seen the equipment in my office. What's really cool about in your binder that we're going to send with you, we actually send you picture instructions. Everything that you need to do when you're setting up this equipment. You're voting, the big black boxes are already going to be there for you, so you won't have to worry about carrying those to the polling location. But it literally gives you exact picture instructions on how to set up the equipment. It's very easy. That's one of the reasons why we went to this equipment. It's not only easy for our voters to use, but it's very easy for our election judges. So do not be concerned about trying to put this together. Again, it will tell you exactly step by step everything that you have to do. I'm going to kind of go through this a little bit just quickly. We're going to open and check in the black box in the back of it. There is a location where you are going to just unlock it and pull it down just to make sure that there's nothing in that cabinet at all from any previous elections. There should not be. So if there is, please let me know. So again, this is going to be really easy for you to check. We'll have those instructions in there as well. This kind of shows you too where you're going to lock up the ballot box again. And right in front of his hand, if you look down, you see this narrow slat that's right there. That's called the auxiliary bin. So if anything happens and you can't get a ballot to go into that tabulator because there's a power issue or something's going on, voting does not stop. You're going to put that into that slot. You'll put the ballot right in there. Okay, you'll slide the tabulator into place. Lock tabulator, plug it in, turn it on, lift the screen into place, and you're going to see this screen come up and it's automatically going to do this. It takes about 3 minutes for us to process through. You're going to enter the password and we'll have that in your binder as well. A little tape like this is going to print up. It's got the machine info on it. So we just want to make sure that the date and time is correct on there. If there's any issues with that, let us know immediately. Our election company comes up. They've actually been up twice. They're coming up again tomorrow just to confirm that all of our equipment is good and ready to go. We've also already done the public test and everything went very smoothly. It's also going to print a report that says the zero count report. And this zero count just shows you that nothing has been voted for this election on this piece of equipment yet. Okay. And then this screen is going to come up. This just means that you're going to put in, we'll have a special head ballot for you to put in that acknowledges that this is the kind of ballot that needs to go in. And then that way the unit will be set up and ready to go for you. And then this screen will pop up and it will say, please insert paper ballot. Pooey, 2 hours of sleep. This is what you sound like. Okay, so then touchscreen preparation. This is the ADA piece of equipment that we have. And again, if you may have seen it when you voted in March, or you may have seen it in my office. This will not be used very frequently in this election. It is for people though who do have visual issues. There's a headset that comes with it and a Braille keypad. And it actually opens up and it looks like a big tablet. So people will actually use stylus pens because it's a touchscreen. So we're sending stylus pens so that you can clean those easily for people. And then they'll just touch the screen to vote what they want. What's really cool about this piece of equipment is it actually tells people if they have overvoted something, it'll highlight in red. If they missed a race, it'll highlight it in red. And then that way they can review their choices before they actually print their ballot. This is a cool machine because it prints up what all their choices were. And then it goes into the tabulator just like the regular paper ballots. But again, I don't think you're going to have that many people who are going to use it because it is new. A lot of people are not aware of it. And a lot of people who have the issues with vision or anything like that usually come to my office to vote. So we'll see how many people you get. But again, picture instruction guide makes it super easy for you. So this is what it's going to look like. It sits in its own case. You don't even have to pull it out of the case. You just literally unlock it, remove the cover, put the tablet up, bring the keypad out, plug it in, turn it on. And then this is how I'm pointing, like you guys can see me pointing to this picture, but you'll actually, this is how it keeps the tablet up for you. So depending on the lighting in the location, sometimes you have to do it at a specific angle, but it's really easy to set up. Okay, so you're pulling these out for them. Turn it on. So the first thing that's going to come up is it says confirm, says it's election day. Yes. So again, I'm going to say, when you set things up on Monday, if you get to do that, great, but do not set up the equipment until first thing Tuesday morning. Okay, so then this will come up. This is use the barcode reader to scan ticket. So we're going to give you a barcode for your ballot style. And it's, again, really easy if anybody does want to use this. If anybody wants to take a minute to come into the office to just see how ours is set up really quick, but you literally run the barcode under the scanner and it pops the ballot up. It's very simple. That kind of gives you an idea of what the barcode looks like. Okay, and then so when that brings the ballot up, it will say start. So you'll move away and then that person can start voting when they're ready. And again, this just kind of gives you an idea of where they would push button, touch screen or use the stylus to pick their choices. In this case, they picked the write-in, and a little screen will pop up where they can actually put in then the name of the person for the write-in. And then it'll kind of move through for them. And then down in the lower right-hand corner, you'll see the arrow. That's where it arrows to, they can push that to go on to the next race. And then when they're finished voting, it'll say done. They can click on that. Again, as I mentioned earlier, in the red, it'll show them if they undervoted or overvoted. In this one, it'll tell them everything. So if they didn't vote for a race in this one, they sure don't have to, and they can just print it as is. Done, and then print, and then it will print their ballot out for them. Now, this ballot does not look like the regular ballot. It's only the answers, and it's a lot thinner. So on our tabulator, you'll see where it says arrows are pointing down and it says, line up ballot here. That's for that small thin ballot. You'll just line it up in the arrows of the tabulator for it to go right in, just like the normal wider ballot. Okay, arrange booths. You're going to, after you get your equipment set up, you're going to arrange your polling location booths. Now, this is going to be interesting. There's some places we're going to try and get some extra booths out there. If you have tables, that really is a better thing to use if possible. You can set people up. You do want to try and keep them socially distanced. That would be very helpful. You're going to want to try and set it up. If you have maybe something that has the 4 as a circle, maybe just block 2 off and just keep 2 open for people to go through. You have to be creative in your polling location because every polling location is different. Not everybody has the same kind of polling booths. So you'll just have to kind of get creative and do your best as how you can social distance people there. Then you're going to put your signs up. Does somebody have a question?
I have a question, Julie.
Okay.
If we first normally get like at the library, we normally get, I don't know, 3 or 4 booths, but I know what our count is normally like.
Sure.
Can we choose to use less just to space them out more?
Absolutely.
If we know it's not going to cause a big, huge, long line, is that okay?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I'm not sure that you may have some kind of a line at some point. I don't think it's going to be like here. We're averaging 300 people a day, so I don't think that you're going to be quite as busy. Yeah. So whatever you feel is best.
Get away with 2.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you. Okay, so then you're
Julie?
gonna. Yes.
This is Carrie. For PG1, can we get an extra flag? We had to move the entrance.
Okay.
So that we could do and obstruct village business.
Okay.
So I'm gonna need an extra flag so I can put one on the side and one in the front saying no polling.
That's fine. Yeah, we can. Let me make a note of that too while I'm thinking about it. Also, I'm surprised that you guys are still open for business that day with the law changing.
Yeah, IML came out with saying that we could stay open, so Owen is keeping us open.
All right. Okay, but yeah, we'll get that signed for you. Okay, public roadway, polling place signs you'll put out. You're going to post the voter instructions. So if you voted in the past in one of these booths, or if you've been in my office to early vote, you'll see these instructions are put up in the polling booths. You'll have some of these signs also that will be out there. These are some signs that some other counties use, but not necessarily all counties. So you may not have all of these, but you're definitely going to have your electioneering signs. And again, other signs that will go up in your polling booths. So you'll just get all of your signs posted. So at this point, you've pulled out your supplies, you've set up your equipment, and now you're putting your signs up and around. You're going to pull out your ballots, and you're going to verify your ballot that we've given to you matches the specimen ballot, which it should, because we're going to go through that ourselves to put those in the boxes for you. And we're going to tell you exactly how many ballots we've given to you, and you'll confirm that. Everybody will sign the certificate of inspection. Know your different ballot styles. For the most part, all of you will have one ballot style, but we have a few precincts that will have separate ballot styles. And that's just if you look at the top of the ballot, it's going to tell you a number. So it may say 026 or 027 or something like that. Caledonia 1 has 3, so that's why I'm using them as an example. So when you pull up the person's information that they sign, it tells you which ballot style on their personal information that they're going to be voting, so that way you know which ballot to give them. And again, most places are only going to have one. Okay, code color, for this one is just number. In a primary, it might be a color, but in this one, it's just number. Okay, statement of ballots. So this is going to be one of the forms that you'll find in your precinct envelope. And this one is, you're going to put down how many ballots you've received. As the day goes by and at the end, you're going to confirm how many were given out, how many you still have left, and that sort of thing. So you'll just fill it out. It's very self-explanatory. It just says number of blah, and then you'll put in that number. Okay, valid write-ins. So we're going to give you a list of all the people who filed a declaration of intent to be a write-in candidate for whatever office. We've had several who have filed write-ins for the office of president, a couple of them for representative, and a couple for Senate. We don't have any write-ins for local candidates. It's only going to be for those offices there. When somebody votes for a write-in person, you're going to have a list of their names available at your desk, and somebody will walk in. If they request to see that, you may give that to them. They can look through it, and then they hand it back before they go into the polling booth. They don't take it with them. One thing, when somebody is voting for a write-in, they have to darken the oval as well as write in the name, otherwise it's not counted. So again, you'll go through, you'll have that list waiting for people, and then if they ask for it, you'll let them look at it. At the end, we'll go over how you're going to count those as well. Okay, electioneering. So this has been actually pretty good. I've been surprised. I've been expecting a lot more people to wear their buttons and their hats and their signs and their t-shirts and their sweatshirts, and now masks. We've never had to worry about people wearing campaign masks like we do now. I had a gentleman yesterday who came in and was wearing a candidate mask, and of course, he was standing in line, but that's within our 100-foot zone that is campaign free. So I had to go out into the hallway and ask him to remove his hat. He didn't say a word to me. He kind of stepped towards me and walked around me and left and decided not to vote. So unfortunately, I wish that had not happened. I wish he would have, just taken it off and put it in his jacket. He was actually wearing, I'm sorry, I think I said mask, but he had a hat on yesterday. So he could have stayed to vote. He just needed to remove it. Again, we talked about masks. If they're wearing a campaign mask, you do have to ask them to either remove it or to put a mask over it. Offer them another mask, of course, to go in place of that. Okay. So there should not be anything like that for anybody within that 100-foot mark. Now you're going to have a sign or a little flag or something that you'll actually mark off that 100 feet. So people know beyond that, they cannot electioneer. Candidates can stand at 101 foot if they want to, but they cannot stand within that 100 foot. So oftentimes, especially at some of the bigger precincts, you'll see candidates out there handing out literature, having their signs, that's perfectly legal, just not within that 100-foot mark.
I have a question.
Sure.
So are we going to allow anyone to come in with any campaign, like a T-shirt or something like that?
Absolutely not. Nope. You're gonna, if you see them come into the polling location or within that 100-foot mark that you're gonna mark off, you're going to ask them to go to the bathroom. If they're wearing like a T-shirt or a sweatshirt, they need to turn it inside out so that you can't see what's visible. If they're wearing a T-shirt and they have a jacket, just cover it up. But no, they cannot wear any kind of clothing that has anything like that on it. No campaign buttons. The mask, we see a lot of hats. Mostly hats is what we're seeing.
What if they refuse?
Then you, as the election authority, can then tell them that they are obstructing the law because the law says that you cannot do that. So they have the choice at that point in time to either obey the law, stay, do what you have asked, and to vote. Or if they continue to not, then they won't leave. Then you have the right to call the police or call me, and I will call them myself.
So there won't be a police officer there all day long then?
No, there will not be.
I see. So they can come in if they have COVID, but they can't come in if they have a hat on.
We're instructing people that if they have COVID to vote by other means. I hope that they don't. I'm sure that they're not going to admit that they do. The only thing that you can allow them to stay for will be if they're not wearing a mask. You cannot make them wear a mask.
Okay, so if they have a mask that is a candidate mask, and that's all they have, they cannot come in with that mask on.
You will have a mask to offer them. You'll have a supply of masks to offer to anybody who's wearing something like that or who is not wearing one. You can offer it. If they refuse to take the mask off, that's a campaign one, or to turn it inside out or to cover it up, then you can ask them to leave. They can choose to take it off and not put something else on.
I see. Okay, so does this happen very often?
No, we've had 7 people out of over almost 4,400 who refuse to wear one. And we've only had maybe 5 or 6 people out of that many who have worn something for campaigning. And two of them were masks, and they agreed to take them off and put a mask on. And they understood why when we explained to them that was considered electioneering, and that for some reason didn't dawn on them, but they agreed to take them off. So I'm not anticipating, just instructing in case something like that does happen.
Hi, Julie.
Yeah, hi, Bruce. Or Juan.
Yeah, this is Juan.
Hi, Juan.
I do have a question. Now, what happens if your polling place has more than one entrance? Which one do you use for the 100-foot mark?
The one that's closest to where you're voting,
Okay.
to where you're set up for voting, the one that's closest.
Okay, thank you.
So Julie, maybe you can just clarify again to what Juan was just saying. For instance, the library or community, well, I won't speak on the community building, I don't know, but the library, our entrance is downstairs. We start 100 feet from the door to that room. It's not from the exterior library entrance. So someone could be in the library or, 100 feet and 1 inch from the door of the room where our polling place is set up and still wear their t-shirt or their sweatshirt and still be inside our building. So I think that probably needs to be made clear. Just because they're in a building does not mean that you can ask them to remove their whatever item it is, correct?
Right, as long as it's not within that 100 foot of that. Now, except for churches. If that 100-foot mark ends at the inside of a church, that's automatically extended to outside the building. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you. Good conversation. Okay, so this again is kind of going through the campaign free zone. Sometimes that 100-foot mark is like ours is out front and it's in the dirt where the shrubs and things are. So we actually put our things in the dirt. But you may have it in a parking lot, and so some places we have cones that you can just stick it inside the cone and it sticks up for that marker. I don't think that there's any that have more than one floor other than possibly the library, but you guys are downstairs and you only go in that one entrance, I think, right? At the library. Yeah. And business, churches, schools, again, it can go right outside the building. Okay, I apologize. I think earlier I said just churches, but all of those things, if your 100-foot mark ends inside, you can move it to right at the doors to go outside the building. Now, churches and private schools have the option of not allowing any electioneering on their property. All the churches in Boone County that act as a polling location have already requested that. So nothing can be on their property as far as signs or anybody electioneering outside that 100-foot. Okay. Okay. All right. So now we've got everything set up, your signs, your polling booths, everything is ready to go, and you're waiting for people to come in the door. So what do you do first? You're going to announce the polls are open. So at 6 a.m., you open the door, polls are open, unlock the doors. Again, one of us will be trying hard to find you a judge in case you're missing one. Poll watchers may give you credentials at that point. A list is going to be provided for you that in your supplies on Monday that will give you all the people who have early voted, grace period voted, or voted by mail. That is going to be a large list for some of you. What we've had you do in the past is do the green stickers to mark in your poll books. When you find a person, you'll see their green sticker that they've already early voted or grace period voted or voted by mail. So you're going to have you might want to do that on Monday ahead of time because you're going to have a lot more who have done that. That list will be done as of Sunday before the election. So anybody who votes on Monday, which we've been averaging 300 people a day, so we could have a very large list to add. If it's a long list, we're going to run it out to you. If it's just a few people to add to your list, we're going to call you and let you know who those people were that came in on Monday. Okay? Okay. One thing I want to remark about too is if a voter was issued a vote by mail ballot, but they have not voted it yet, they can surrender it to you. They will sign an affidavit stating that they are surrendering it to you, and they can be given a ballot in order to vote in the precinct on election day. They have to give you the ballot. So when somebody first walks in the door and they're going to approach you, the first judge, and they're going to say, "Hi, my name is so-and-so," or you're going to ask them, "Could you please state your name and address?" They're going to do that. You're going to look them up in the poll book. You're going to find their sheet. You're going to look and see if there's a green sticker on there. That will indicate that they've either early, grace, or voted by mail. You'll see that green sticker, and then you're going to go back to your list and go, "Wait a minute, we show here that you requested a vote by mail. Do you recall doing that?" That's what you're going to say. Do you recall asking for a vote by mail? They're going to tell you one of two things. They're going to say, "I did. It's at home. It's in my car. It's somewhere." And you're going to say you'll have to go home and get that and turn that in order for us to give you a second ballot. Why? Because that's fraud for us to just automatically give a person 2 ballots to vote. Okay? So you're going to tell them they have to go get it. If they answer, "I did not receive my ballot. I requested it. It never came," that's not going to happen very often, let me tell you, because for the number of ones that we've gotten back, we've hardly had that happen at all. We have had 2 people who say they didn't request or didn't receive it. So I don't think that that's going to happen, but they may tell you that I have not received my ballot. So, and that's the case, we're going to go through that in a little bit further down the road, what you're going to have them do. They can still vote, but it's going to be a different way of voting, and you're going to call us first for us to walk you through that. So again, you're going to say, do you recall requesting a ballot by mail? Yes, I did. I have it in the car. Great, go get it. If they say I shredded it, I destroyed it, I burned it, I threw it away, give us a call because we have a procedure we're going to do, but we're going to have to walk you through that. Okay?
Hey, Julie,
Yeah.
question on that. I've had in the past where mom and dad bring the college students a ballot. Set them, or do we send them to you to turn them in?
They have to be turned into my office or put in the mail. You cannot accept any voted ballot that you did not issue yourself in the polling location. Okay, so if they're bringing in their kids' vote by mail, all ready to go, and they voted it, they have to bring it to me. They can also stick it in the mail so it be postmarked that day. Okay, but you do not accept any voted ballot other than one that you've given in the polling location. That's a good question. Okay, so let's say, yes.
Julie, quick question. Back on that last slide, it said that or fill out an affidavit, but that really means and, correct? They have to surrender it and they have to fill out an
Yes.
affidavit, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, correct. Yep. Good catch. This is the 7th class. You're the first person who caught that. Okay, so voters can be challenged. Let's say somebody comes up to you. Again, this is what's pretty much is what's gonna happen. They're gonna come up to you. You're gonna say, could you please state your name and address? You're gonna find their application. If there's no green sticker, fantastic. You're ready to go. You're gonna have them sign that application. You're gonna have another judge witness that and look at it and make sure that that signature matches. If it does not, and you two agree, one from each party agrees that it does not, then you can go ahead and ask the person for identification. If the first or second judge cannot understand their name, if you have a hard time hearing, especially with wearing these masks, please make sure that you go ahead and you can either have them ask for an ID or their voter registration card so that you can say, and just say, I'm so sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you with the masks on. May I just see something that I can write down your name and address? That is perfectly fine to do. Because you're going to be sitting behind a shield, a desk shield, and they're on the other side, if you feel like you need to, and you can tell them to take down their mask for just a moment while they're saying that, I understand that, but I would rather you ask for an identification or their voter registration card so that you can go ahead and just write down the information. I'd rather you do that as opposed to having them pull down the mask, but sometimes people will do that instead, and that's acceptable. Okay, so maybe you know that that person has just recently moved out of the neighborhood. Maybe you know that that person got married and changed the name. There's things that you might challenge somebody about. So a poll watcher can challenge that if they know the person. You as an election official can say, hey, wait a minute. And just to give you a quick example, we actually had that happen where a girl came in, she had gotten married 2 years earlier, she moved to Chicago, she came in to vote on election day, and one of my deputy clerks grew up with her mom, knew that she had been married and moved away, and knew that she was given the incorrect information. So she was able to say, I'm sorry, but that's not who you are anymore, that's not where you live, you've been gone for 2 years, and she was supposed to be registered in Cook County, so she had to drive to Cook County in order to vote that day. So there are circumstances where that can happen. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because that doesn't happen very often. Okay, so again, reasons for challenge could be maybe you can't find them in your record of registration. At that point in time, you're going to call me. Maybe you know who that person is. Let's say, Natalie Mulhall comes in and says, hey, I am Natalie, and I know for sure that that's not Natalie, then I'm going to question who that is and ask for identification. Maybe you know voter has moved, voter has already voted. If that little green sticker is, you're going to challenge that. Or maybe they've changed the name. So if somebody has gotten married or legally has changed their name, there is an affidavit that you'll fill out. That is the salmon colored affidavit that I stated earlier. If you have any questions or any situation that comes up like that and you want to know and make sure that you're doing it correctly, just give us a call. As you can see here is the salmon colored one. And this chart, okay, so first I said make sure you read all the instructions because they will tell you literally procedure by procedure on what to do next. The second thing, if you see a line, you're supposed to sign, okay? This third one, this is your ballot entitlement chart. This thing is fantastic. Even we use this in my office for election day. It gives you all the circumstances that you might have encounter when you are doing this. So it will give you the affidavit that you're going to need to fill out. It'll tell you exactly what to do, and it will tell you what kind of ballot to give that person and what they're qualified for. So you're definitely going to want to use this. There's a front and back side. We're going to have this in your binder as well. But again, before you proceed, if you question anything, give us a call so we can go through that with you. Okay, so in the past, we've asked our election judges to rotate positions, and in order to minimize the transfer of germs and things like that, we are asking you to stay in one position. If you feel like it's necessary to change positions, just make sure that you hand sanitize and sanitize the area before you move to something else, okay? You're going to act as a board. As I mentioned earlier, you're the election authority there. If any decisions need to be made, you can call us for guidance, but then we expect you to make the decision on how you think it should be handled. Majority rules, you'll have at least 3 to 5 judges in there, okay? The other thing too is to remember everybody has equal authority in the polling location. You might be working with somebody who's worked before. That only means that they've had more experience and knowledge at doing this. That does not make them have more authority over you. So you'll work together. Okay, so we're going to kind of move on. Again, any of these kind of situations, contact your election authority for additional information and instruction. The reason why we say this is because we have more information at our fingertips on election day than what you do. We can go into an electronic system that will tell us if somebody is actually registered in a different county. We'll be able to do that. If you can't find them, we'll be able to find them and tell you where that is. Let's say somebody has already voted by mail and they say that they have not voted or did not get their ballot. We'll be able to confirm whether we've received a ballot back for them or not. So there's many situations where you might challenge somebody, or maybe you can't find their voter registration. If they insist that they're eligible to vote, maybe they applied for registration at the DMV and we didn't receive it in time. You're going to contact us first so that we can do more investigation first before we advise you on how to handle the situation. So again, anytime that you have a question or you are confused, or maybe you just want to have a clearer way to go with this, just please give us a call. Okay, some voters will require assistance. We talked about this a little bit earlier when we talked about the affidavit. So voters with disabilities and voters who cannot read or write the English language, those are the ones who will need assistance. Being intoxicated or under the influence of any drugs, including marijuana, they cannot assist. You may not assist them. That's simply for your protection. You don't want to have somebody that comes in who's been drinking all day, you help them to vote, and then they accuse you of leading them in a certain direction. When you're assisting voters with disabilities, of course, ask and listen, talk naturally, be sensitive, show dignity and respect, and speak directly to them. Oftentimes, I've seen people who came in a wheelchair and somebody's pushing them, and people will talk to the person who's pushed them in as opposed to them. You can offer assistance to them, but do not take over. I've actually heard of situations where people went to help somebody to, maybe they took a little bit longer to darken in an oval and they took a ballot away from them and darkened it for them. Please do not do anything like that at all. Again, this is the same affidavit you're going to use for quite a few of the situations. So when you do the assisted voter affidavit, we talked about this earlier, the voter, the person assisting the person, and then one of the judges is going to sign the affidavit. And then you're going to put this with their application and spindle it. So who can give assistance? It can be a friend or a relative or two judges of the election. Assistance cannot be given by the voter's employer, an agent of the voter's employer, an officer of the voters union, or an agent of the voters union. Treat all voters as your personal invited guests. Do you have any questions? If so, we're here to help you. Now be very careful about that portion of it, because a lot of times people will say, hey, can you tell me more about the Maple Crest referendum? Can you tell me more about this fair tax? You may not give any information about that as well. They should already be prepared when they come in to vote. But we do have a lot of people who for some reason miss the fair tax question. It's the very first one on their ballot. It's at the top left. It's very long, and they see that it's long and skip right over it and don't read it. So just make sure you're very careful about how you answer your questions. Thing keeps popping up. Okay. All voters should be treated with patience, common sense, consideration, courtesy, and respect. And I have to brag on my staff because, like I said, we've been doing this since September 24th. We're averaging about 180 to 200 people a day from the very beginning, and now we're averaging 300 people a day. That is very, very difficult to maintain composure from 8:30 in the morning when polls open until you're finished with the last voter at 6 o'clock at night. My staff has been phenomenal and have been doing it every single day. So I'm very proud of them for doing that. Blah, that thing keeps coming up. Okay. Try that again. There we go. All right. So again, as I stated, somebody's going to walk in. The little picture in the right-hand corner, that is what your poll book looks like. It's all pre-printed for you for voters. So you're going to look up their information. And that's how you're going to find out which ballot style, confirm their address with them, and have them sign this. Okay. You're going to, by completing the application, that means we're going to have them sign it. You can give them voter instructions on a demonstrator ballot, especially if this is their first time voting, and a lot of times they'll tell you. And you'd be surprised at how many people are in their 60s and 70s that are voting for the very first time. So just be patient with them, kind of give them an idea of how to do that, and then they can go into the polling location to vote the ballot themselves. Remember, grace period registration is now extended, but they can only do that on election day. So if they come to your polling location and say, I'm not registered anymore, I'd like to register and vote here, you're going to have to send them to my office. Okay, the next station, once that you and another judge have confirmed that that is the person's signature, address, everything is good, you're going to look again on their little application there to see what their the correct ballot style is. Most of you will just have one ballot style. You'll give them the ballot. But you have to make sure at the very top you initial that ballot in red. The reason why it's in red is because the ballot box reads the black marks. If you're doing it in red, it's not going to see your signature or your initials, but it's a must. You have to initial that ballot. That way we know that they went through the correct process in getting a ballot, that they had the correct information. Okay, so again, this is the ballot. You can see where it has a number, so you'll know that's how the ballot style is. You'll again initial that in red, direct the voter to the voting booth. Sometimes the voters will make an error on their ballot, they're going to turn that back over to you and say, I've made an error. They have a choice. They can either spoil that ballot, or they can be given another ballot. Or if they like how they voted and they're done and they just want to keep moving, then you have a button that you'll have on the machine that will say accept ballot. You push that and it will go right in for them. And I'll go over that process just in a little bit longer. Oh, come. Okay. For the touchscreen, you're going to escort the voter to the touchscreen device. You'll do the barcode for the correct ballot style, and then you'll show them how to do that and then step away. You should be giving them a ballot privacy cover if they request one. Some people do not want one because it's one more high-touch thing for them. So if they do use one, have them put it in another location, not bring it back to you, just so that you can wipe things down for more people to use them. A spoiled ballot, as I said earlier, a voter would request a new ballot because they're not happy. Let's say what we've seen a lot happen, and I'm not sure I could explain to you why, but we've seen a lot of people overvote the presidential race. So when they go to put their ballot into the tabulator, on the screen next to it, it'll kick their ballot back out, and on the screen next to it, it will say overvoted presidential race. You're not going to announce this to everybody, but you're going to explain quietly to this person, your ballot was overvoted for this race. Would you like to spoil your ballot, receive a new one, and vote it a different way? 9 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. So you're going to go ahead and you'll have spoiled ballot kits in your big blue bag. And it's a small envelope. I'll show you the screen in just a second, but you're actually going to have that voter fold up their ballot and put it into that envelope. Okay, then you're going to have it sealed and you're going to issue them a new ballot. On their application that they signed and you compared the signature, there's a small little box that says spoiled ballot. You're going to check that box. That way we know that you've given a person a second ballot and that they have a spoiled ballot in an envelope. Always be kind when you're doing this process because they feel pretty stupid for having done that. So we don't want to aggravate them even more and make them feel even worse about what's happened. A lot of times it's just an accident. I cannot explain why it always happens here on that particular race, but it has. So just be patient with them. So you can see the small envelope, that's where their voter is going to put their ballot, seal it up, and then you will place it. We have a bigger envelope for you to put all the spoiled ballots in. I would say we probably have about 30 or 40 people who have spoiled a ballot so far in our office. You won't have that many, but you will have some. And you can, if they can spoil it as much as there's no limit to how many times they can do their ballot wrong. Most people only do it once, but there are a few people who get it wrong a few times. All right, this screen talks about tracking your numbers. What that means is when you have a voter come in and you pull out their application, they sign it, you give them a ballot, you're going to number that application starting at 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? So for every ballot that goes into your tabulator in the lower right-hand screen, you're going to see where there's a little bit of a number, okay? So on that number, it should match how many applications. So that way, you know, the application shows how many ballots were given out and how many ballots went into your tabulator. That number should match. So what we suggest is either every hour that you just confirm those numbers, or after every 50 voters. And then just make a little mark so that you know that you were good up through the first 50. And then if you find through the second 50 your numbers are off, you already know you don't have to recount those first 50. A lot of times what's happened is when you're numbering the applications, you've written down the wrong number. But I will tell you, I thought this was interesting this year too. This is the first time I've ever seen this happen. We were off one day by about 3 ballots and we couldn't figure out why. Our numbers were correct. As far as our numbering system, we knew that we'd written down the right ones. Well, what people had done when they walked up to the tabulator with their privacy cover over their ballot, they thought their ballot went in, but they didn't pay attention, and it didn't. So then what they did was their ballot went with their privacy cover in the privacy cover box. So we actually found all 3 ballots in there. And so then we were able to put them in the tabulator. So now our numbers match. So we know the number of people who have signed for a ballot match the number of ballots that have actually gone into the tabulator. Natalie did a helpful hint, and that's to use Post-it notes, because you'll actually have those in your supply kit. Use that to mark the applications every hour or after every 50, just so you know we're good through those numbers up through that point. Okay, once a voter has been given their ballot, they've voted, they're going to step up, they're going to insert their ballot into the tabulator. The judge that's kind of watching over that station should also make sure that there's not anything left in the voting booth. Sometimes people will leave electioneering material in there, so you want to make sure that those are cleared out. If anybody also votes with the touchscreen, there's obviously, because they print their ballot themselves, when they approach the ballot box, you're going to want to turn that ballot over, the small one, and then the ballot box judge can initial that there as well. We talked earlier about the auxiliary emergency bin. Voting never stops. So you can see the slot there in the picture at the bottom. So if something happens with the electricity or with the unit itself where it takes in the ballot, you can go ahead and put that ballot in the auxiliary bin. Some possible problems where it might be kicked back out again. We mentioned earlier if somebody has overvoted a race where it says vote for 1 and they vote for 2. So it will kick it back out to them. And then on the little screen to the right, you can see where that little, it'll tell you exactly why, okay? We haven't had any issues for it not being read, but the only thing that I could think of is possibly if somebody has put too much hand sanitizer and it's caused an issue with that ballot, I would go ahead and if it's not going in, just put it in the auxiliary bin. So hopefully it will dry out and then we'll be able to put it in later. Okay, so in the very beginning, when we have you turn on the screen, we have you put in a ballot. That way we know that that machine identifies with that ballot. So if anybody tries to put anything else in there, it is not going to read it. And again, this also is just kind of going through the spoiled ballot. If something happens, what to do with it. You can either accept it as is, or you can issue another ballot. This is the screen I was talking about earlier where it says accept ballot. If they're happy with their ballot the way that it is, just push accept ballot and then the ballot will go right into the tabulator. Curbside voting we'll go over just briefly. I don't anticipate this to happen very often for you. Normally it happens for us here. People are supposed to notify us at least a day ahead of time that they're going to be voting curbside. What that means is they have to park 50 feet from the door, and 2 election judges have to go out to help them with their ballot, 1 from each party, okay? The voter, you'll bring their application to them, they will sign it, you'll do the signature verification, you'll get their ballot to them, they will mark it in secrecy, and then those judges will take the ballot in and deposit in the tabulator. Okay. The next thing we're going to touch on very briefly is just provisional voting. Provisional voting is a way for people to vote. Let's say they're very confrontational. You have no record of them, but they insist that they live here, and this is where there should be. To reduce confrontation, you can have them vote provisionally. There's several reasons why. But the biggest thing I'm going to tell you about provisional voting is do not do it unless my office has instructed you to do so. So if somebody says, I did not request a ballot by mail, I did not receive a ballot by mail, more than likely they're going to have to vote provisionally, but you will only do that if we've given you permission. Do not do that on your own. On the envelope that we actually have all of these supplies in for voting provisionally, we'll actually have a big thing on it that says, do not do this unless we have given you permission. So don't even pull those supplies out. A provisional ballot is one, they'll get the regular ballot, but what they will do is they will not put that in the tabulator. That provisional ballot will actually go into an envelope and you have a special form that you'll have them write out. This ballot, then, we must investigate and give it the full 14 days after the election before we can count that ballot. So this is a last ditch effort for them to be able to vote without having any kind of issues in the polling location for you. Again, do not use these unless we have given you permission. Okay, that's a huge thing. Okay, so this is the provisional envelope. Okay, and you are going to have a supply kit in here. It's going to be the envelope. It's going to have a secrecy envelope, and then it's going to have an affidavit. If we instruct you to do this, we'll instruct you exactly how to walk through that, okay? It's pretty easy, but I don't want to waste time here when you may not even have to do this. And again, I want to stress, call us before you issue that. We need to give you permission to do that. So I'm going to kind of go right through here too. Provisional ballots will not go into the tabulator, again, only in the envelope, okay? Okay, so now we're here at 6:30 p.m. We're going to announce that the polls will close in 1/2 hour. You walk outside. Sometimes you say this to a group of people, and sometimes you say it to absolutely nobody but the cows in the pasture. So you're just going to go out and say, polls are closing in 1/2 hour. Remember too, if you are working in your polling location, to vote. I have yet to vote. I've been so busy, I haven't had time to early vote, but fortunately my polling location is in the boardroom on election day. So if I have not had time to early vote, I'll make sure I go over there then to vote. So if you're working in your polling location, you can vote that day. If you're not going to be, then we'll have you come in and early vote. But again, I will get that out to you today so that you know exactly where you're serving. At 7 o'clock, you're going to announce that the polls are closed. Anybody who is in line at that time may vote. We have that happen every single day. We have a line at 5 o'clock. The last several days, the line has been out down the hallway and out the front doors. And we have to bring those people in, lock the doors, and then we go ahead and process them. And we're usually not done until about 6 or 6:15. I don't think that this is going to happen for you, but you may still have a few people in line at that point in time, okay? So you're going to close and lock the door, remove the signs. And I love the little image of this guy pushing somebody out the door. We've had other voters who are standing in line open the door. You can't do that. They have to be in the line at 7 p.m. Otherwise, they are out of luck. So then you have procedures for after the polls close. After all the voters have left, this is what you're going to do. So who's authorized to remain in the polls? Election judges, law enforcement officials, an authorized poll watcher, representatives of the State Board of Election, State's Attorney's Office, or my office. No candidates unless they have poll watcher credentials. No one else. Husbands, wives, children, pets, nobody else may be in that polling location other than the ones that you see on the screen. And the ones that I've listed that cannot be in there have all tried to be in there in the past. I will also tell you in this election for 2 polling locations, Belvedere 16, which is at the airport, and Caledonia 1, which is at the Timberlane Village Hall. There will be a reporter from the AP. They've already notified me that will be there at the end of the night to look at the postings that you're going to post on the screen. And again, in all the instructions, it will tell you what you're going to have to put out there. But they're there just to see what happened through the day as far as all the results from that day. Okay. You're going to do the touch screen shutdown. And again, we have picture directions for you that's going to walk you through everything. So just follow literally the picture through everything. If you have any issues, give us a call. That's what we're here for. Okay, so you're going to take an orange barcode that we're going to have in a separate location from your white one. You're going to use that one to close down the voting on that machine. It's going to say, do you want to confirm close voting? Yes. Then it's going to run a report for you that says close report. And again, you see the line, so you're going to sign. And then it's going to close that session for voting. Nobody else will be able to vote then on that unit. The reason why we put the orange barcode in a different location is so that you don't accidentally do that during the day. You're just going to lower then the screen down, power it off. You'll power it off a second time on the screen. Do you really want to? Yes. Power switch to off. Remove the cord and just return everything back into its container that you, when you first opened it up. Replace the cover and lock it. It's that simple. Okay, then you're going to check your auxiliary bin to make sure that you don't have any ballots that were put in there. And hopefully at this point, any issues with your tabulator for whatever reason why it didn't go in at that point, you're going to go ahead and put it through the tabulator. And then again, we're going to give you picture step-by-step instructions on how to set it down. This really should only take you just a few short minutes. It's not difficult at all. So you just follow the directions, follow the pictures. It will tell you exactly how to do that. Okay, so your little blue tablet, the blue screen that's on the little tablet for the tabulator, there's a hidden button. Obviously, it's not going to say hidden button, but if you just put your finger in that lower left-hand corner and leave it there, you'll see another screen pop up. Okay, it's going to look like this. You're going to put your password back in that you used to start it in the first place in the morning. Hit enter. And then you'll see where it says close voting. You're going to touch the close voting. And it's going to make sure. Do you want to close voting? Yes. And then you're going to see this screen. This is where it's going to start closing down all the voting files and processing the votes. Now, to the right, and I think I just kind of went past it real quick. To the right, you'll see two little white things down at the bottom lower left-hand corner. One says continue, but to the right of that, it says print copy. So you're going to print 3 copies of the election summary report. So after it finishes printing, you're going to hit print copy again. It'll print it up for you. You're going to hit print copy again. After the third one, unless a poll watcher asks you for one, or if you want one yourself, you'll go ahead and hit continue. Then it's going to ask you, do you want to run the write-in report? You're going to uncheck compress images and you're going to push yes. So now the report is going to print for you. And what's really cool about this, if you've worked before, you know, you used to have to separate out all the ballots that have been cast to find all of your write-ins. You don't have to do that anymore. All you have to do is review this write-in report. And again, you're going to compress the image. Okay, and it's going to say report printed successfully. It's going to give you, when people cast their ballot in this new equipment, the reason why it kind of like is a hang time is because it's actually taking a picture of that ballot. And if somebody has filled in the oval for write-in and then wrote somebody down, then you're going to actually run that report and you're going to be able to tell exactly which write-ins are which ones. You're going to be able to tell if they wrote in the right person. If they wrote in Kanye West, it's not going to count because Kanye is not on our write-in report ballot. If they wrote in Mickey Mouse, it's not going to count. Let's say the person's name is James Smith and they wrote in Jim Smith or James Smith, absolutely, those will count. So it'll be really super easy to just go through the report, find the valid write-in names and count how many that they had. So then you're going to also do a second and third copy of that report also. So you'll see where it says down at the bottom, it says back, continue and print copy. You can print another copy. And you'll just keep doing that until you're finished running the 3 copies for that. and then continue, okay? And then it's going to say, please perform system shutdown, and that's where you're going to push the green and it's going to say shut down. Makes it really easy. Turn it off, remove the power cord, and then return the tabulator, place the screen down, unlock the tabulator from the box, and we'll put the tabulator back into the bag provided. Just so you know, it's a large blue bag that is on rollers, so it's real easy to carry back. You are going to remove all the ballots that are in the tabulator that were cast, or in the black box. Okay, and again, this says here to compare number of ballots to number of applications. You've already been doing this throughout the day. Your number should have already matched before you closed it down. You're going to process write-in votes. That means you're going to go ahead and count and see how many you have. And then there's a statement of ballots. We're going to pull that back out, and you're going to finish answering the questions of how many of what were turned in. You're also going to have a valid write-in report. And that valid write-in report you're going to complete with how many people, how many valid write-in votes were cast and for whom, okay? If you didn't have any write-ins for that, and I honestly don't see that you're going to have very many write-in reports at all. I think most of the time it's going to say none. So you're going to go ahead and do write none if there are no valid write-in votes. Okay, remember that you do work as a team. So when you're closing everything down and you're going through, again, these instructions, I'm going to go back to this again. Read the instructions. We streamline it and make it super easy. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so you're going to get all of your equipment and your ballot sheets and your tapes and all of your write-in tally sheets, your applications. You're going to get everything ready to go. And again, read the instructions. We put a copy in there for each judge that's serving. And the big reason why is to make sure that everybody's on the same page. You're all working together as a team, and it will tell you exactly what needs to come back and what. If it goes in a black box, it's going to give you a list. This goes in the black box. If it goes in the blue bag, it's going to tell you this goes in the blue bag. So again, read the instructions. This will make it so much easier for you. Read the instructions, sign where you see a line. Do not give out a provisional unless you've called us first, and call us with any questions. We're here to help you. Okay, so you're going to get all of these materials together, and then you're going to make sure that you complete your expense sheet. This is on the back of your oath sheet. The expense sheet is how we pay you. And I probably should have started with this, but one of the things that I really like to do is to receive grant money to help us cover expenses of whatever it is that we're doing. And I was able to get a grant to help us pay you more this election. Normally with a class, you're paid $145, and we're able to pay you $195 this time. So we have $50 extra for every election judges that's working this time. And I'm going to pretend that I heard this big, huge collective, yay!
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thank you. That's awesome. That made my day. Thank you. Thank you for appreciating my humor. Okay, so finishing up, you're again going to complete and sign all forms. Again, we make it super easy for you. Just follow the instructions. 2 eligible judges, 1 from each party, and I really like this part. You'll see 1 from each party. So 1 Republican, 1 Democrat, all together. See if it works. Ooh, see, they left together. They came in 1 vehicle. They'll deliver the ballots directly to the election office all together. Okay? So I just want to point that out, because a lot of times we have election judges who will come together, and I understand with the COVID issue that people may not want to ride with somebody else. We need to wear our masks, hand sanitize, but this part of the law, they did not change. We have to do that. That's so that there's no question, nothing can be called into question on this election. Do not throw anything away. I beg to differ with this. We actually have people turn in their garbage from their lunch and their tissues. I don't want that back. I want everything else back. I don't want your tissues. Used tissues. Unofficial totals. Remember that whatever happened in your precinct may not reflect the entire overall things that have happened in the whole entire county. So what happens on election day is considered unofficial totals, especially when you see your totals from your precinct on the report that you run. Don't call your neighbor and say, hey, you won, unless they are unopposed. Then yes, you can call them, hey, you won. But otherwise, no, because those people, we don't know what's happened in the rest of the precincts. Plus, we still have to count all the early voting and all of the vote by mail. So election night, after polls close, all the election judges will bring everything back here for us, right? We have a great system set in place that we're keeping in place, and we are starting to tabulate then that night. We will tabulate everything we've received so far. So any vote by mail ballots, and we'll know exactly how many are still out there. As of last night, we out of almost 6,700, we still have 1,800 that have not been returned. The rest of them have. So we'll have quite a bit already entered into the system and counted. But anything that comes that's postmarked election day, we have 14 days to give it. So legally and technically, I don't have to certify that election until 14 days afterwards. We will have a very good idea, though, how and who have won that evening. It'll be the really close races that'll make a difference, and that usually is going to happen in more of the local races. Okay, so clean up your mess as you go. Before you leave, we will have somebody just kind of go through, do the high touch surface areas, make sure things have been, you can use your cleaning wipes to do those. Again, thank you for wanting to serve. This has been a crazy year for having election judges work. A lot of my experienced judges are no longer doing it because of their age or their health. So I appreciate everybody wanting to do this. We can't do election day without you. Obviously, you're the authority and going out there. So thank you so much. Yes, bring in, we used to do a lot of times in the polling location, the judges will bring in things and everybody will potluck all day. And with COVID and things like that, we're advising you to not do that. Of course, bring in whatever beverages you need for the day. Of course, make sure you bring in your lunch, food, whatever you want for the day. Just be very careful about how you are sharing with others. Thank you for attending the class. I have some notes on people that I need to send that form to. I want to make sure too that I get that sent to you here. I'll be emailing out all of the assignments later this afternoon. After this class, I wanted to kind of finish up and see who still was wanting to, so we'll get that finished and get that to you this afternoon, probably even tonight, depending on how many voters we have coming in, but I'll get that information to you so you know. And any questions?
Julie,
Yes, sir.
are you going to send us a rather detailed summary of everything you've covered? It's been like drinking from a fire hose here.
I can do a couple of things. I can send you a copy of this because I am going to actually copy this out. I can also send you a printed form of the PowerPoint as well.
Actually, for us, email would be fine.
Yep, that's exactly how I'll do that. And I can send you a printable version of the PowerPoint, and I can also send you the recorded version of the PowerPoint. And again, everything that we've covered will all be in with your kit and everything for on election day in your precinct information.
Great. We'd like a printable version.
You betcha. Yep, I'll send that to you.
Can I ask a question? Can we request a certain precinct not to be assigned to?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and how do I?
requests to go to a certain precinct are more difficult just because I have to have, there's a lot that goes into that. But if there's absolutely somewhere that you don't want to go into because you're not comfortable there or what have you, that's fine. I can accommodate that.
Okay.
So
And
I would
I
just
can,
suggest that you email that to me.
thank you.
So the emails that were supposed to have been sent to our family or my mother's email address, she has not received.
Okay.
So I did receive the one email you sent to my personal email.
Yeah, but that was the same.
I think on Sunday.
Okay, and that was Rachel,
So if
right?
you could, yes,
Yep. I'll just send everything to yours then from now on, okay?
that would be fabulous.
Sure.
Thank
You
you.
betcha, Rachel. Thank you.
Julie,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
I understand the process of the absentee ballots and how how you take care of them as they come in.
Correct.
But what do you do with ballots that are just mailed in? What's the process with that as far as checking and counter checking
Yeah.
their
That's a great question. So yeah, I'll tell you, because that changed this year by law in June when the big election bill changed. So what we do, whether if they have requested that ballot by mail, whether they walk it in my door completed or whether they mail it in completed or whether they put it in the box out front, we by law have to have a 3 election judge panel to first what they do is they open the initial envelope and they look at the signature on the certification. They review that and they hold it up to my system, my voter registration. They can pull up the signature for that person and they review it. All 3 have to agree that that is not that person's signature. Then what they do from there is if they are rejecting it because either somebody has not signed it or because their signature doesn't match, then they reject it, and then we have to notify that voter within 48 hours that their signature has been challenged or they didn't sign it. And then so then they come in and they either have to show us ID if their signature did not match, or they have to send in the letter that we send them has a little box that they can sign themselves and just bring that in, and then we'll update their signature and know that that's them. If it's accepted, they'll go ahead and open the secrecy envelope that the ballot is in, and then they will take that and put it right into the tabulator box and cast it just like an early voter does. So we actually have already cast 4,020 ballots into the vote by mail ballot box that have already been reviewed. And I think we've had probably about maybe total of about 60 that were rejected, mostly because people don't sign, because they haven't signed their certification. There's only been a few challenges to what a person's signature looked like. Okay, so then,
Okay, thank you.
then we will do that process all the way up and through until we've received all that we're going to receive. But they've been
Okay,
doing
great.
that now for probably about 2 weeks. When somebody does drop it off or we receive it by mail, we actually will go ahead and mark it received in our system within 24 hours. So that way, if somebody is concerned and wants to make sure their ballot got here, they can call us and we can say, yes, we've received it. And at some, usually within about 3 or 4 days after that, then we can let them know if it was accepted or rejected. And then we'll mark that in the system as well.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Good question. Anybody else have any more questions?
Julie, I have a question, Carrie. I have a quick question on the election on shirts or buttons. I've seen a lot of RBG stuff floating around on Facebook and stuff. Are those allowed? Since obviously she's not on the ballot, but she was in the political world.
Yes, and we've actually seen one guy who was wearing a hat that said term limits. So if it's an issue that's been a very political hot point, even though it may not be on the ballot, we strongly recommend that you do have them remove that. That's clearly indicative of a particular party.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Hey, Julie, if somebody comes to the wrong polling location, how do you probably already said this, but how do you quickly determine that they're at the wrong polling location
Sure.
and what polling location to send them to?
Okay, so first of all, you're going to have it's a booklet. It's called a poll book, and every person that is a registered voter in your precinct will be in there. Okay, so when they approach you, you're going to ask them to state their name and address, and you're going to look them up, and it's alphabetical. So let's say, Brian, we're looking for you, and we open it up, and we can't find you anywhere, and then we're going to question your address. And then they are probably going to have more information to share with you at that point and say, I'm not seeing you. Are you sure you're a registered voter? Well, I think I am. That point, call us because we're going to have information to share with you. We're going to have a lot more systems and ways for us to look up somebody that we can actually tell you. There's also a way to go online through the State Board of Elections. And for that one, for the state board, you can actually put in a person's address to find out where their polling location is. So you can also do it that way. And then you can send them then to that location or call us if you have any questions, and we'll look up and do further information for that person and then be able to tell you, yes, this is where you need to send them.
Okay, so that's what I missed. We will actually have a list of everybody in the precinct.
Yes, it's
Okay.
called a poll book. And so you know how when you came into early vote, we had you sign an application first before you voted? So
Right.
that's basically what that is. That's already pre-printed applications with people's names and addresses on it. We just happen to print it from our system when you come in the door. But there you're going to have a pre-printed book of those, and you'll find that person, pull it out, have them sign it, number it, and stick it on a spindle.
Okay, thank you.
If you can't find that person, though, give us a call and we'll help you through that.
Okay.
Is there any guesstimate about how many people are going to show up to vote?
A little bit, yeah. So I, from the beginning, have thought that we would have about an 80% turnout. In the past presidential election, that was the highest one that we had, and we had about, I think it was 72, 73% turnout. I think this one will be more. Having said that, that's about 27,000 voters in Boone County that would show up to vote. We have already processed almost 12,000, and I suspect we'll do almost 13,000. So that's only going to leave about 14 or 15,000 left of people who will show up on election day if we have that many. That's divided by 38 precincts plus mine. So that's why I don't think that you're going to have quite as many. I ordered enough ballots for each location to have a 65% turnout. You're not going to use all of them. I think by that time, you probably only have about 50% of all the registered voters in your own precinct to show up.
Oh, she's not going to have enough.
Well, what's that number? I didn't do the math while you were talking. I was trying to.
But every location is going to be different. I really think that only about 14, 15,000 voters will show up on election day. But that's not going to be in one precinct. That's going to be divided by the 39 precincts.
Yeah, 39 precincts in Boone County.
So every location is different with the number of registered voters that they have in their precinct. So, yeah, that's why I can't give you an exact determination. I just don't think it's going to be more than half the voters that are registered in your location will turn up.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Julie, can you
Yes.
explain Monday, what the procedure is for Monday prior to, what the responsibilities and what the needs are and the timing of that?
Yes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send out your assignments, and I'm going to email a lot of it because I'm also going to email who you're working with and their contact information. Everybody should be contacting each other to kind of set up a time frame for what they can do on Monday. That's not everybody gets together on Monday. We will have one election judge from each precinct come in and pick up the supplies. But you'll get in touch with each other to determine how you want to handle that. So you'll figure out what time is good for everybody to meet on Monday. You can start setting things up. You'll contact the location you're going to be working in to set up a time that's good with them as well. So that's going to kind of be handled by the group of judges that I put you with. The group will get together and decide how they're going to handle Monday and Tuesday morning.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
How many people are involved at each precinct? How many workers?
It depends on the size of the precinct. Some of the larger precincts will probably have 5 judges in there, and then some of the small ones will have 3.
And we'll always be with somebody who has experience, right?
That's the goal. We did have 1 or 2 precincts in March because I had so many judges call off on the last day that I had no choice but to have those workers work. That is not what I want. I don't intend for that to happen. And I'll do everything I can to make sure that you have at least 1 person who is experienced.
Okay, thank you.
But again, that's why I stress, read the instructions we give to you in the election judge packet and information that you pick up on Monday, because it will streamline everything for you. It will make it really easy for you.
Can we pick up the information prior to Monday?
No, this weekend we have early voting Monday, or I'm sorry, Saturday from 9 to noon. And then what we do after that, that's when we start running all of the reports for who have early voted, grace period voted, and voted by mail. So it takes us quite a long time to run those reports. Plus we have to get all of the supplies and everything put into the bins and taken care of. So we'll be spending all weekend doing that. So Monday morning, the other reason why we don't do that is because we want to make sure that there's not any issues with that equipment. So sometimes on Sunday, we'll go through and just double check everything. And then that way you're not as responsible for as long of a period of time to have that equipment with you, only for that 24 hours until the polls open. We try and keep that equipment in our hands as long as possible. Okay, any other questions? I know I gave you a lot of information, and I know that it's there's a lot of questions to it, and that's why, again, we say read the instructions, we streamline it and make it super easy for you, and then call us. Then our phone number will be on literally dozens of things that will be in your supply kits, the front of your binders, everything. Call us if you have any questions. Okay, because it really is, it sounds like a lot of information, but it really is very repetitive and very easy throughout the day. Every once in a while, you might have one of those circumstances that we talked about, but it really will be quite easy for you.
Do you need any volunteers to help you prepare over this next weekend?
I actually already have, I already have 3. I will kind of check and make sure that they're still on board. If they're not, I'll give you a call in case we need more.
Okay, I'd be happy to help. So.
Okay, thank you, Diane. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Well, fantastic job. Again, I did record this. If anybody wants me to send it to you, I have noticed in the chat where there's a couple people who did. So I'll send it to you. And again, I can email you a written copy of this out. So if you want to print anything out, it really is not as scary as it sounds and not as bad as what it is. And I just am so thankful for all of you, and email me with any other questions that you might have as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all. I'm going to go ahead and close it out. You're all set, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have
Bye.
a great day, Julie.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.